about you? Yeah, it's your level control on the. Yeah, shouldn't drop it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, solar.
Hello, Beauty. Good mole mote. I can see it keeps breaking. It's bad. You actually, yeah. Let's talk. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Caesar, can you try and increase the level on that unit there, on the big button on the audio interface, slightly up?
Sound check, 1, 2, and 3. I'll just continue talking. Sound check, 1, 2, testing 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I think we find there.
Sound check, 1, 2, and 2.
Yeah, I think we find
Sound
there.
check, 1, 2.
Caesar, I think we find there.
Sound check, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it's Abutumzane. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay, right.
Sure, sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Recording in progress.
Sound check 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. Okay, sound check 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. Sound check. Mautwe.
Thomas come here.
Wamisa, do you miss me?
Yeah.
Please, if it's more, we miss out too much. I'll be more also.
I'm very angry. You made me to travel from Naisna until Cape Town yesterday. Very tired, only to make this meeting hybrid.
Okay, now this is show of venue, Mount. I could wait so I venue very what you had hope.
Kendlov, is that Ndlovu who caused us this mess?
No, who's interested? Le minister na yaka utla re fike za te mauto tla kwata e so ra re tla kupela tla.
No, I'm here, Chair, I'm here. But there's an echo when you speak that side. I think the room, the IT guys can sort out the room. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Check 1 2. Can you sort out the echo? So we need to talk from that mic, not this one. Oh, this one. Just unmute.
Okay.
You need to turn down.
Now we get it.
Oh, you need to turn down the volume on this one.
Okay. Let's
Yeah, all the way down. Yeah,
Okay.
Dr. Mokuel. Let's go. Sound check 1 2 1 2.
we are starting the meeting. Good morning, honorable members in the room and the officials, the Deputy Minister Saruben, the head of the Treasury, Dr. Peters, and the members here. Also, the Deputy Minister on the visual platform, I see Dr. Masondo, and the members of the Joint Standing Committee of the National Assembly and the NCOP. Dr. Masangani, the chairperson of the Finance and the National Assembly, and good morning, honorable members. As you know, today we have a joint standing committee of the National Assembly and the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee. It's only to do other things. I see the PBO is also entering the room. We're going to receive the report, the response from the National Treasury to the questions and comments that members have been raising, and also we're also going to focus on the report that we have been discussing from the beginning of the process since the minister have tabled since the minister have been tabled the budget. I think that is my opening remark, and I will request the Secretariat to inform us about if there is any apologies. And I think I've welcomed everybody in the room and also in the virtual platform. Secretariat.
Good morning, Chair and members. From the Standing Committee on Finance, it is Mr. Van Rooyen and Mr. Likhanyani. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. The only apology we received is from Honorable Numalo. She will be joining virtually. She's not feeling well. Thanks, John.
Thank you. I think I see Honorable Numalo also on the virtual platform, and also Honorable Begi Khadebe is also there on the virtual platform. I see the Honorable Sokwati.
Honorable Mazibuko will be joining later. She started in appropriations.
Okay. Thanks very much. I think, can we now give the Treasury you see, Chair, we have spoken about this hand, and it seems Maote is enjoying this thing. You know, sometimes when we see the hand, Honorable Maote, you'll blame us, and you used to say the black is beautiful, but this one is brown. Honorable Maote?
No, thank you, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to say, switch off your gadget. I think you forgot to switch it off. That could be the one that is causing an echo, because it's on the platform, but you are seated there. So just, exit the meeting with your gadget. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Maote, we will not be able to see that you have raised your hand if you don't switch it on. We only muted it, and so that we can be able to see whoever is raising the hand. Other than that, it's going to give us a problem. We'll continuously looking around and check who's raising the hand, and there will be lots of disruption. So I think the technicians are addressing that matter. We have also reduced the volume of our gadgets. Yeah, I think, Doctor, we are fine. Can I? Yes, thank you. I think we can proceed. Dr. Peters? Or Deputy Minister?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. It's good to be here, and apologies for last week. I understand the committee was unhappy. I think, Chair, I'd like to just touch on some of the questions that the committee put forward, and then I will hand over to the Director General of the National Treasury. There are 4 questions I just want to hone in on. The first is related to the question from Honorable Ryder on the fact that the National Treasury doesn't normally talk about taxes in the MTBPS, but he indicated that he hopes tax submissions will remain taken in. And while we don't make tax submissions during the MTBPS, we don't make tax announcements, apologies. Tax submissions are always welcome. They go through the tax policy units, and the Treasury does publish discussion papers and tax proposals once the technical work is completed on those. Then with regards to the question regarding the inflation targets and employment growth, I think it's important to understand a couple of things about the inflation target and employment growth. And there seems to have been in the public submissions an assumption on the inflation target that uses the modified Phillips curve, which basically says that at a certain point in inflation, you get higher employment. And I must point out that in the real economy in South Africa, this isn't necessarily the case. Our unemployment crisis is not caused by momentary dips in demand, a temporary wage rigidity. It's structural. It's resulting in a skills mismatch, low productivity, failing network industries, restrictive product markets, and weak investments. No amount of tolerance for high inflation will fix this, and you cannot inflate your way out of structural employment. So, as I said during the first meeting, we have 16 million people in social grants, and people survive on informal income, remittances, and precarious work. High inflation does not grease the wheels of the labor market, it destroys the purchasing power. When the price of basic goods rise faster than incomes, demand falls precisely in these sectors that should be absorbing labor, such as retail, services, and small business. So inflation then becomes a regressive tax on the poor and a chokehold in the communities that need it the most. Secondly, getting to the modified Phillips curve theory, because of the structure of our economy, our wage-setting institutions adjust quickly to rising inflation. So bargaining councils, public sector patents, and cost of living adjustments ensure that nominal wages chase inflation almost immediately. As a result, real wages do not fall when inflation rises, they merely keep pace. So the modified Phillips curve, the textbook mechanism that higher inflation reduces real labor costs, does not operate in our economy. Instead, we get high inflation and no meaningful improvement in employment. And you can see this through our economic history. The inflation spikes of 2002, 2008, and 2022 were not followed by employment booms. They were followed by stagnation or rising unemployment. There's not a single modern episode in South African economic history in which high inflation has improved our labor market. So I must say that. Then with regards to administered prices and whether those would come down, there was a question there. I do want to comment, the DG will go into some of the detail, but I do want to say this. One of the administered prices is in municipalities due to them pushing their costs onto consumers. There are two things that need to be kept in mind here. The first is when price setters, such as municipalities, set their new prices, they will start at inflation, and then whatever their inefficiency is, they'll top that up. So if you say 4.5 is the target, they will start at 4.5 and then raise their prices over and above that. Now the price setters will start at 3 and raise their prices over and above that, whatever the inflation forecast is for the given year. So that's the first thing at administered prices. The second is, we know that particularly in our metros, where about half our population lives, that there's been phenomenal increases in water, energy, sewage and sanitation, and refuse removal because of the inefficiency issues, which is why the Metro Trading Services Reform Program is there to deal with a structural problem, which is a chronic underinvestment in capital expenditure in these services. And over time, that will, as these are implemented, it will help deal with the administered pricing problem in local government specifically. I'm sure the Director General will go into energy and electricity and digital communications. And then on the SRD grants and the future of the SRD grants, the SRD grant remains in the baseline, so it is not unfunded if it were to continue. However, and it has been extended for a year, however, there is technical work on the future of the SRD grant, so we don't want to pronounce on this until the technical work is completed. Otherwise, it's just speculative, and it is not good policy to give the public speculation. Thank you very much. Director General, can I hand over to you?
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Good morning, honourable chairs and honourable members. I'll cover the remainder of the questions that have come through. Just to start with two process points. The one is we did submit some written responses based on written questions that we've received. And of course, we welcome any written questions going forward, and we are always happy to respond. Secondly, just a small matter of process. I understand that there was some confusion around the apology that I submitted last week, and so I think it's important for the record to reflect that because of the G20 summit over the weekend, quite a few of us were engaged in pre-G20 summit, G20 related meetings. And that's where I was on Friday morning. And unfortunately, I could not join. So I just wanted to make sure that my apology is correctly captured for last week's meeting as submitted to the Secretariat. Moving on now to the questions that were posed. I'll start with the question around that were raised by a few, including the Budget Justice Coalition, around the progressivity of our tax system. And the point that they had made was shouldn't higher inequality require greater progressivity? We indicated both in our documents and previously that we disagree with that, because progressivity is not only about inequality, but it is also about growth and it is also about poverty. And those two objectives are as important as dealing with inequality. Increasing tax rates further would, in our technical analysis, which we've published, impact negatively on growth. It's uncertain whether it will raise additional revenue, which is sorely needed for the large social expenditure that we incur, with the social wage being at around 60% of non-interest expenditure. And so we are concerned about the negative impact of higher tax rates on both growth and poverty through its potential impact on social spending. There was a question about data, whether we'll release more data at the end of December in the Section 32 reports. The Section 32 reports that we publish encompasses all the different tax items, and it's released at the end of the following month after the end of the period of reporting. And so we would be able to see the data requested for the report at the end of January. There were also a few questions about the Road Accident Fund and excise taxes. On Road Accident Fund, there was a question around the fiscal risks. And it's important to say there that even though the Road Accident Fund have changed their accounting policy, we have always estimated the growth in liabilities in accordance to the relevant accounting standards, which in this case is IFRS 4, and we've included it both in the estimates of national expenditure as well as the budget review, and it's included in the contingent liability amount. There are three different categories of liabilities there, and the largest that's included in the E&E are the actuarial estimates of future claims of accidents that have already happened. So the fiscal accounts do not understate that risk. It is included in the estimates of national expenditure. The second component, as part of the categories of contingent liabilities, is the claims that have been made against the fund but not yet finalized. And the last category is claims finalized but not yet paid. And so I think it was Honorable Beasley who asked about this. It is accounted for in the first category. And in terms of Honorable Van Rooyen, I think's question about large payouts to non-residents, it's important to note that the RABS bill, which unfortunately my understanding is did not make it through Parliament, was specifically intended to deal with that problem because it was designed to remove general damages from the suit of claims that can be made against the fund and therefore limit the overall liability. Honorable Burke, I think, asked some questions around Transnet guarantees, conditions met, and so on. Of the 32 conditions, Transnet has met 23 of those. 6 are in progress and 3 were not met. We obviously also provided additional guarantee support to avert the default risk of Transnet's loan obligations. The 3 conditions that were not met in our assessment were influenced by, and I'll list them shortly, were influenced by factors that are outside of Transnet's control, including the delay of municipal approval for the disposal of non-core properties, as well as the finalization of the TNPA corporatization process that rests with the Department of Transport and the National Treasury. So we are working with them to expedite What is, of course, the complex process of corporatizing TNPA, given the implications that it will have for Transnet's balance sheet. There was a question around a compliance report for whether state-owned companies meet conditions, Treasury's conditions for bailouts. We do provide quarterly updates to the Standing Committee on Appropriations, which includes a detailed status update of compliance to conditions. And I think what we will need to do is just ensure that when we provide, and that often is in person in Cape Town, when we submit that report, we should also then pass that on to the finance committees as well for their noting. And of course, we could present it here as well. There was a question around the recapitalization strategy for Land Bank and the South African Post Office. There are currently no recapitalization plans in the fiscal framework for either the Land Bank or the South African Post Office. Both have benefited from state support before. And our approach to this in terms of the advice that we give to the Minister of Finance and Cabinet has been that those SOCs must demonstrate that they have started self-help initiatives like disposing of non-core assets and other cost containment measures before a consideration can be made for financial support, as well as putting together a robust turnaround plan that is implemented by a stable board and executive management. The members of this committee will recall that a few years ago, we provided a very large bailout to the SABC, who today find themselves in difficulties again from a financial perspective. And that is mostly attributed to the fact that the turnaround plan that they had was not properly implemented or designed. There was a question about why some entities are receiving recapitalizations. It's important to note that in the past, we issued unconditional, and the members will remember that, bailouts to many of our state-owned entities, and those were rightly criticized by Parliament over a period of many years. And that's when we shifted away from unconditional bailouts or equity injections to structured recapitalizations, where it is subjected to strict conditions that are monitored and reported to Parliament on a quarterly basis, and to make sure that they are that those disbursements are linked to milestones. So, for example, the Denel bailout that was provided in the last budget still has not been fully disbursed because there are still outstanding conditions that Denel has to meet. And so that's how we are driving better accountability for public money and value for money. We are also developing broader credit enhancement and de-risking mechanisms with DFIs. We spoke about the credit guarantee vehicles and so on, to ensure that over time SOEs can take responsibility for their own balance sheets, including disposing of non-core assets, implementing credible turnaround plans, tightening their financial controls, and so on. It's also worth noting on this point that when we publish the procurement dashboard, which contains the procurement information for all entities, for most entities falling under the PFMA, some state-owned companies were excluded from that because we don't yet have that information. But we, along with that dashboard, published an instruction note that will, over time, from the beginning of next year onwards, pull SOCs into that so that there can be greater transparency around their procurement efforts as well. There were a few questions on JAFECRA in terms of the amounts available and the change in the buffers. As of March this year, the JAFECRA balance stood at 364 billion. After taking away 50 billion of that buffer, which was earmarked for distribution this year and next year, the 54 billion remains. Of this amount, in this fiscal framework, the National Treasury is going to receive 31 billion, which is going towards paying down debt service costs and borrowing, and the Reserve Bank 23 billion in order for their contingency reserve to help meet the Reserve Bank's liquidity management costs associated with that operation. And on our side, the 31 billion is to reduce the gross borrowing requirement in 26-27. There was a question which I think was the cause of some confusion around whether the Standing Committee on Finance was consulted in line with clause 7.2.4 of the JAFECRA agreement. And just to correct there, the JAFECRA agreement refers to the Standing Committee on Banking and Financial Markets, which is a committee between the Treasury and the Reserve Bank, not the Standing Committee of Finance in Parliament. There was a question around the World Bank loan for the Metro Trading Services reform. Just to make the point there that the Metro Trading Services reform is funded not only by the World Bank, but also a consortium of other DFIs, including the New Development Bank, KfW, the German Development Bank, and the AFD, the French Development Bank, as well as the African Development Bank. And these partners are all collectively coming together to provide concessional loans at below market rates, which of course lowers the overall cost of funding. The loan amount has not yet been disbursed and will only be disbursed in line with specific disbursement indicators having been met over a 6-year period. And so we'll be able to answer the question around the impact of that on the debt to GDP ratio as those funds are disbursed. The DM Sarupen spoke about some of the inflation target change related questions. I'll just touch on the one or two that wasn't covered. The one was around sort of long-term benefits versus short-term costs. As we've indicated before, our joint work with the Reserve Bank did confirm that there are some short-term costs, mainly to nominal GDP, but those are far eclipsed and exceeded by the long-term benefits. The economy will benefit from a lower inflation environment, borrowing costs will come down, business confidence will improve, firms' operating costs will decline, and that will have knock-on effects in terms of the ability to employ workers and, importantly, invest in fixed capital because of the decline in the cost of capital through lower interest rates. And we've already seen a structural downward shift in our interest rates. On the household side, they will benefit from improved purchasing power and also reduced borrowing costs and greater wealth effects. And that will drive greater household expenditure, which, as we all know, is 60% of GDP. And so overall, in our estimation, there will be positive impacts on real economic growth over the medium to long term that will far outweigh these short-term costs. There were concerns around whether a lower inflation target would mean higher interest rates, and we've addressed that. And the SARB's own work has also confirmed that, including the work that they published in their May MPC forecasts as well as subsequent MPC forecasts. So I won't spend too much time on that. We also spoke previously about the consultation process that was undertaken. Moving now to the final set of questions around reforms. The DM spoke to the issue around lower admin prices, so I won't talk there, but I do want to make the point that we, in our estimation, on a sector-by-sector basis, we do believe that the structural reforms will lead to greater competition, especially in the electricity sector, given the reforms that have been introduced there, including the amendment in Schedule 2, which will slow the growth of electricity prices over time, and that will certainly exert downward pressure on prices over the long term. Same on the digital communication side. We've already seen the impact on lower data prices, and a similar story for transport and logistics, where the planned PPPs there, in terms of the RFIs that have been issued by the Department of Transport, will contribute to lower logistics costs. In terms of the impact of reforms on gross fixed capital formation, we have a specific scenario in the MTBPS that talks to the impact of the full implementation of the structural reforms on both gross fixed capital formation as well as employment. And those, of course, are estimated at increasing our real GDP growth per year at somewhere around 1.3 to 1.4 percentage points per year. I believe that brings me, Honourable Chairs, to the end of the questions that were raised last week. And as I said, we have responded to those written questions and remain available to answer any other questions that may be asked. Thank you.
Thanks, DG. DM, is there anything that you also want to cover? DM Masondo. Okay, I think it seems that he's not have anything that he'll want to respond to. I thought maybe we must also give him an opportunity. Honourable members, I think that is the response from the DG, from the National Treasury, led by the DG Sarupen and DG Masondo on the virtual platform. Can we check if there's still some questions that members feel they are not responded to? Okay. I don't see any hand in the house and also on the virtual platform. Thanks very much, the DM Masondo, the DM Sarupen, and the National Treasury Department led by Dr. Peters, the DG. Honourable members, I think now we will focus on the report, the consideration of the draft committee report on the 2025 revised. Yeah. So all of us, we have the document with us, and let's see how we're going to handle it. We'll go page by page, and we'll hear the comment and from our members, and we hope the secretariat is ready. DG?
Apologies, Chair. I just wanted to inquire whether I should remain behind for this or whether I should excuse myself.
You can remain. Unless if you have raised it with the co-chair that
Yeah,
you'll
I
be
would-
presenting, and then after that you can leave.
Yeah, I would much rather leave, Chair, to be
Okay.
honest, if that's okay.
No, it's fine. We can release you. You don't want to listen to members when they deliberate on the report. Eh? No, thanks very much. Can we go to the introduction? There's a report, page 1. The introduction. I don't see a hand. Political overview by the Minister of Finance. Up to page 2, page 3. Overview of the 2025 revised and 2026 proposed fiscal framework. Item 3, that is page 4. Up to page 5. Page 6 also the same. Page 7. Main budget framework. Main budget framework, page 7. Page 8. There's a table 2 there. Page 9. And 4, constitutional and statutory institution inputs. Page 10. Page 11. Number 5, analysis of public submissions. Page 12, the depth, fiscal sustainability, and the proposed fiscal anchor. Page 13, social protection, the SRD grant, and basic income. Page 14, public services, employment, and the public sector wage bill. Page 15, poverty, children, early childhood development, and parenting support. Page 16, inflation targeting, monetary policy, and macro fiscal coordination. Page 17, tax policy, progressivity, VAT, and wealth-related measures. Page 18, there is a disturbance up there. Page 18, illicit trade, access, taxes, and enforcement. Page 19, local government, basic services, and municipal finances. Page 20, responses to stakeholder submissions. By the National Treasury, 2021. '22, 23. Page 24. And on committee observations and recommendations, we're going to focus on point by point. The 7.1, are you on the observation?
I am,
On the observation?
yes.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get in. So I think we are done with the report there. Then now we are getting to the committee observation and recommendation, 7.1.
That's correct,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay.
Mine is a general point on this whole section, Chair. We seem to have lots of recommendations around hearings that should be held and comprehensive plans that must be developed and reports that must be filed. And I think we should ask ourselves realistic questions of what capacity Treasury has, especially when some of these recommendations have a deadline by February, us now being at the end of November. And we already have a problem with a lot of this committee's recommendations being ignored. So I wonder if we shouldn't go back to the drawing board and come up with 4 or 5 actionable recommendations, Chair.
I think that is the proposal. Let it be captured. (7.2).
Chair, my hand is
Honorable
up. Can the committee members, the secretariat assist
Okay.
to check your gadget? Because I'm
Yes.
still on 7.1.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Honorable
you, Chair.
Maute. Yeah, you'll come in. Let me take Honorable Lohase, then you'll come in, Honorable Maute. I've noted you.
Okay.
Honorable
Okay.
Lohase.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to all the colleagues, both on the platform and in the committee room. Chair, mine is just a clarity because it's a proposal one needs to agree to or not to agree to. Whether the honorable member is doubting the capacity or is saying the capacity which National Treasury has will derail the process, or he does not see the capacity from National Treasury at all. One just needs a clarity. It's not a point of debate, just for him to clarify on where his suggestion comes from. Thank you, Chair.
Through you, Chair. I think it's a valid question from my colleague. My input was more to this committee than it is to Treasury. I think we need to be realistic about what we're getting back on these recommendations that we keep volleying out at a record pace. And if it is our experience, and I think it is now common cause, that a lot of the recommendation don't find implementation in reality, then wouldn't it be more powerful for this committee to say these are 4 or 5 things is our reduced focused list that we are presenting to Treasury, and we're going to hold you accountable to those 4 or 5 things because we can all understand them, and you should understand them and give us feedback on them. Whereas at the current rate, we'll just keep coming up with recommendations that are then at leisure ignored. Thank you. I hope that's provided clarity.
Yeah, I think member is making the observation and the recommendation at the same time. We're not going to decide on this. Hence, we are saying tomorrow will be the time where we'll be adopting. So he's making the observation and the recommendation at the same time. So that secretariat has to capture that. Honorable Maute.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm going to go through point by point. And maybe to the point of Honorable Dr. Beck is to say, if Treasury doesn't respond to our recommendations, what makes him think that even if there were 1 or 2 reservations, they will respond to them? I think recommendations must still be made and Treasury must still be held accountable, whether there are 20 or 1 or 4. But anyway, my point is, Chair, on the sentence that says, it starts with the community recognizes the progress recorded in several areas, and it ends with proposed fiscal framework. I don't want to reread it. I just want to direct you to where it is. Chair, I think here we must be clear that these public consultations we're talking about were undertaken by Parliament and not by the National Treasury, because as it is, it's open. Actually, the way if you read it, you'd actually think that National Treasury undertook the public engagement. So it must be clear that National Treasury, before presenting the MTBPS, consulted the cabinet. And that's as far as their consultation is concerned. But beyond the presentation of the MTBPS, it is Parliament that undertook these consultations. That's number 1. Number 2 is that sentence that speaks about South Africa's exit from the FATF grey list. Chair, I want to argue that the sentence, the way it is, it's not true. Because much of the issues that were raised by the Financial Action Task Force, it was issues of money laundering, weak investigations and prosecutions. It was to a larger extent the lack of strategy to deal with terrorist financing. It was insufficient supervisions of certain sectors and allowing people to get away with proceeds of crime. So all these issues that the FATF raised had nothing to do with strengthening governance and enhanced fiscal credibility. So that statement is actually misleading. It's wrong. There's still corruption of state resources, Chair. For an example, we can speak about a 360 million tender awarded to Vusi Matlala, which was at a time when we were celebrating the progress towards removal of South Africa from the grey listing. So my argument is that this sentence should be rewritten because it is giving a wrong perception that these efforts were as a result of all these things. The grey listing had nothing to do with strengthening governance. If anything, they raised issues that are in connection with what I've already raised. The last point on 7.1, the sentence that starts with at the operational level, the achievement and projected expansion. Chair, the report must be critical of the so-called envisaged stabilization of the debt to GDP. Because National Treasury has been saying this for the past 3 years or more. And every time they say this, the following year it goes up. I mean, we demonstrated when we were debating that we took National Treasury from as way back as 2022, illustrating that this is what you said on the budget, this is what you said on the MTBPS, and none of the things you've said for the past 3-4 years has actually materialized. So we must find a different wording, Chair, on this paragraph. And that will be all from my side on 7.1. I'll come back on 7.2, Chair. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is the view from the Honorable Maute. Is there any other Honorable Rider?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think we need to go back to the strategy document of Parliament. And I do know that members of the National Council of Provinces will probably be tired of me drawing our attention back to that same pyramid diagram where we spoke about the inputs that committees get, the work that committees then do, the outputs that committees then generate. And that's where we are now. We're dealing with one of the outputs. And then, of course, remember that the pyramid had new layer added on the top, which indicated we must have impact. And I think it's important for us to consider exactly what Dr. Burke is mentioning. The fact that, you can have a thick document with many recommendations, which then loses its impact. Or you can have a targeted outcome of a committee process that actually gives us decent impact and means that we're actually making a real difference instead of hosting an annual talk shop. And while we're sitting with a report before us now that's already in a draft format, I do think we may need to keep that impact in mind as we process this report now. And I'm not sure that it can be honed down into as impactful a document as we would hope for. But I do think that certainly in future iterations, the focus of our reports needs to be a little bit more sharp, certainly needs to be implementable, and it also needs to be something that we can monitor and measure over time. So that, we made the point last week that the recommendations, the comments that are made, etc., all find their way into the budget review document. And it's through these reports. Now, if it's just going to be something that gets agreed upon here today, gets put on a shelf in Treasury until it's time to put it into a report, then we're not going to have any impact. I don't believe that is what happens. I do know that Treasury gives this lots of attention and focus over time, and then it does find its way into the next round of budgeting. But perhaps we need to be a little bit more careful with how we craft these recommendations, certainly going forward, in a way that we can actually have impact. So let's not make recommendations that we want to change the color of the sky, but let's make proper, decent recommendations that can really achieve what we hope to achieve over time. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I would want to really say that there is nothing much that we're going to really change. But I think the question is whether we, at this level, are we raising issues at strategic level, or we just all over the show, strategic, operational, and so on. which I think it's indeed an objective, observation that we need to look at and say, are the issues that we are raising really strategic for us at this level? Because we are supposed to be at that highest level and be strategic in terms of the issues that we are dealing with, so that we don't just, keep on raising issues that we don't really need to be dealing with at this level. So I think what Dr. Berg is saying is correct. However, for this meeting, it's just going to be a little bit difficult unless he's saying for future meetings, let's actually look at that and start to deal with matters at that strategic level. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Scott. I think what Honorable Beck did was to bring the observation and also make the recommendation at the same time. So that has to be captured. So for tomorrow, as we indicated, we'll highlight those things and see how best we can process it. Hence, we are not going to adopt anything today. I understand what you are saying, but every view now, it needs to be captured. Because if we don't, we can argue, and in as much as I can ask you whether you accept or not, it means now I've jumped to the last process. So whoever has been bringing the views has to also be recorded, unless if Dr. Beck is now convinced otherwise. But I think that part we have dealt with it, and now we are in 7.1. I will appeal to the committee members to focus on the document before us, to say, I'm in 7.2, this is my view. Do you agree and not agree? That point of the National Treasury, it has now been captured and we are done. We are now in 7.1. I can see that you want to go back to it, and I'm not going to allow that. So can we go to 7.1? If there is Honorable Mauta have made the proposal, I agree with the strategic views, Honorable Sukwati. I agree with the strategic views. So can we agree that there's views that has been captured on 7.1? Can we go to 7.2? Is there any view or that members would like to talk to on 7.2? Honorable Makubel.
7.1, you moved a bit faster.
Okay.
I would want to partially agree with what Honorable Mawutwe has just observed in terms of the capturing of 7.1. But however, I would want us to stick to what is reflected here and add, because I do believe and agree with the statement and the sentiments of this 7.1 that says the FATF grey list and subsequent sovereign credit rating upgrade reflects a concerted effort to strengthen governance and enhance fiscal credibility. I fully support the sentiments of this. However, we can then at least bring one sentence that talks to the issues that Honorable Mawuto has just mentioned on the issues that led to the grey listing of South Africa, which were in essence a large portion on the funds that were not accounted for, all those things. But I would want to say this point, as it's reflected, speaks to what has been achieved. Thanks.
Thank you. Honorable Maute, I hope you are not going to respond to Honorable Makube because you've made your point.
No, that's fine. But I think she understood what I was talking, referring to there. So I'll move on. 7.2. I'll go on 7.2. Chair.
No. Honorable, let's hear Honorable Dr. Beck here.
Chair.
Just for now, can you lower your hand so that I'm not confused, Honorable Maute? Thank you.
It's still on 7.1, Chair, and a similar but different comment that needs to be addressed by Honorable Nautwe. She is saying that we haven't stabilized or we're not stabilizing debt to GDP. But the fact is, while it might have stabilized at a higher point, it has stabilized. In 2024, Treasury said that in 2025, debt to GDP will stabilize, and it has. So we just need to all agree on the facts if we want to amend the content of these points. And the facts here is that debt to GDP has stabilized.
Thank you. 7.2.
No, Chair, but that's incorrect. What Honorable Beg is
Honorable
saying.
Mauta, you have raised your view.
Yes, so the
see,
research committee must clarify this. It's not true what you're saying. What percentage the Treasury gave us, they did not achieve it. They kept on changing it, and at no point if they say it's going to stabilize at 77.1, then the actual is 76.3, like that. So it's not true what Dr. Beck is saying.
Honorable Mauta, I hope you made your views, and then Dr. Beck also made his view, and other members. Then we'll talk to it tomorrow and agree.
That's fine.
Because as I indicated, it has been captured, unless if you will tell me that it's not captured, but I believe it will be captured where tomorrow we'll be talking to that. 7.2, Honorable Sekwati.
I'll watch her, but you called me. My hand was on 7.2, remember? And then.
Oh, yes. No, I thought you were still there. Honorable Maude.
Yeah, I was going to Chair. Chair, on the 7.2, the sentence that starts with the committee notes that the macroeconomic outlook remains weaker than the 2024 to 2029 medium-term development plan targets. It ends at a sentence that says, and the expanded rate from 43.4 to 42.4%. Chair, I've got a problem with this observation. It really requires a greater and longer historical context. We must be able to show that the poor growth has been consistent in the past 10 years, and it's not showing as it is here. Similarly, with employment and unemployment figures, we must give context of the previous year, then all 3 quarters of 2025. And again, I don't think we should have a discussion about the official and expanded definition of unemployment. The figures are all there. So what's wrong with us including both of them? And I know this was a contested argument even the last time by Honorable Sukwati. But it is out there, Honorable Sukwati. Let's give it to our people. Otherwise, we're going to trend on TikTok like the last time. Thank you, Chair. I'll come back on 7.3.
Okay. That's the view of Honorable Maude. Is there any other comment? Okay. 7.3. Honorable Sekwati. Honorable Maude.
Yeah, I hope.
Honorable Maude.
Yes, Chair.
Can you lower your hand so that you don't say I don't recognize you, so that I can recognize members in the house, in the committee room before you. Because
okay, I thought you were on
it seems
7.3.
it will be between me and you. No, I'll be noting you.
Oh, you'll be noting me. Okay.
Yes.
So I won't
we are in
raise my hand, but just
7.2.
know
We are
that
still
I'm
in
here.
7.2. When we are done, then we'll go to 7.3, then we'll raise your hand. TG.
Okay.
Thank you. 7.2.
Chair, I hope that it's a principle that whatever views that are being raised should be able to be backed up so that we do not take every view that is being raised. For instance, what Honorable Mautwe is saying, we have actually dealt with those issues previously, and they are actually coming back. And if there is no one backing those views, I hope we understand that we pass. So it means the report remains as is. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no backing on the views of Honorable Maude. I don't see any other hand with regard to that. Can we go to 7.3?
Chair,
Honorable Maude?
yeah, can I come on 7.3? I did not understand the point of Honorable Sukwati, but I will leave it. Maybe you understood it. I'm on 7.3, where it says at provincial level, the economic activity remains highly concentrated, and that sentence ends with 0.2 percentage points. Chair, this is an important observation and that I agree with, but as it is, it lacks context. So we need the researchers to go further to say that economic activities remains highly concentrated with these three provinces, that is Gauteng, KZN, and the Eastern Cape, and particularly in metropolitan areas, which should serve as a clear indication of continued deindustrialization in other provinces, but also a failure to build new economic activities in the post-apartheid South Africa, where we find in rural provinces, there's not really much that is being invested. So in as far as I agree with it, but I just want it to go further to demonstrate the concentration of the investment in the three provinces, and rather the deindustrialization in the rest of the provinces. If the research team can also add that. Thank you, Chair.
Is the paragraph not covering you, Honorable Maude? Honorable Right.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think that the
Can we request Honorable to come first, Honorable Reda, you'll come after.
I thought you called me, Chair.
Honorable Mazibuko. Honorable Maude?
I thought you called me before you identified the honorable member. You asked if the paragraph does
No, I was just raising it in the House. So,
okay.
Yes. So you have raised your view. Let's hear Honorable Mazibuko.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to Deputy Minister, yourself, and the members in the House. Chair, the whole paragraph covers what Honorable Maude is saying, unless she wants the word failure to be included there. Otherwise, the challenges both in the three metros that have been indicated, as well as the municipalities within the rural areas, has been covered in this paragraph. Unless we want to rephrase it, but whatever she's saying is covered here. The only word that is not there is failure of apartheid, due to apartheid. Thank you.
Honorable Reda.
Yeah, Chairperson, I thought that the paragraph covers exactly what the honourable member wanted to have said. I thought her contribution was maybe a comment, not. I didn't really hear anything promoting a change or anything. I wanted to suggest that the paragraph looks fine as it is, and we move on to 7.4. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Maude, are you not persuaded by the Honorable Mazibuko and Honorable Reda that let's leave the paragraph as it is?
Chair, I don't think it will be a harm, really. Okay. The truth is Gauteng, Western Cape, and KZN. There's a lot of economic activities concentrated in only these three areas, particularly in metropolitan areas. But I'm saying the research team can go further to elaborate more on this, to illustrate the continued deindustrialization in other provinces, and also to indicate that this is because of the failure to build new economic activities in the post-apartheid South Africa. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I think you are persuaded. Let's leave this as it is so that But I think your point has been made, Honorable Maude, but can we leave it as it is there, as requested by members? Can we go to 7.4? Honorable Rider?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I have a material problem with paragraph 7.4 in that it's making a recommendation that I believe would effectively instruct Treasury to go outside of their mandate and assume responsibilities that currently vest in the presidency. So what we're saying is that the National Treasury should table the detailed medium-term growth and employment strategy. That's not Treasury's role, Chairperson. That's the role of the planning and policy unit within the presidency. So I think that this entire recommendation is incorrect and could at best be replaced with that the committee receives a report from the minister and the presidency responsible for planning and policy as to their strategy. I really don't think we can be asking Treasury to start taking on responsibilities that have already been allocated within the executive. Thank you, Chair.
DM?
Chairperson, it is correct that the entire growth strategy is not just written by the Treasury. It's a coordinated function from the presidency. There is a document that's been referred to in the press called GAIN. The GAIN document is a product of the presidency, DPME, Treasury, and DTIC, which I'm sure we can bring, but it would have to come through the presidency. Thank you.
So, Honorable Rider, are you proposing we remove the 7.4?
Please, Chairperson.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to that? Members? Honorable Maude?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's interesting that the minister will agree with his honorable member. Chair, perhaps the responsibility should be given to the Department of Trade and Industry, working with the economic cluster. Because the National Treasury cannot give a credible medium-term growth and employment strategy as it is. Because their main focus, in fact, it does the opposite. And it's the same National Treasury that admits that in the short to medium term, there's going to be lower economic growth and unemployment is likely to increase. That's what National Treasury says. So why are we giving the same National Treasury the responsibility to grow the economy when their focus actually has the opposite effect on the same economy? So maybe it's at this point where we raise concerns about how there's no link between the fiscal and monetary policy, and that monetary policy is divorced, honestly, from the national issues we are trying to resolve. If National Treasury can't grow the economy or can't enable economic growth, we should ordinarily then assist in reducing the unemployment rate. And we're still saying they must still continue to do that. The reality is that fiscal and monetary policy have detached from national issues we are trying to resolve. And that's what we've been saying as members of parliament. Thank you, Chair. That's my input.
Thank you. I think we are agreeing that this point is not relevant here. On the issue of whether it should go to the presidency and the trade and industry is something else. So the point is the committee agreed that the 7.4 be removed, and I think the DMs, the two DMs are listening and they will take the matter with the cabinet. 7.5? Honorable Masibuku and Honorable Maude? Or is it, let me check. Honorable Maude, is it a legacy hand? Okay. Honorable Masibuku?
Chair, I just want to challenge the committee on 7.4. I raise my hand on 7.4.
Okay.
I just want to challenge the committee to think if 7.4 is not about the disconnect between economic planning or budget framework, because I think it is relevant, the Deputy Minister, because I think you proposed that. Thanks.
Mazibuko. I think we are agree that this 7.4 should be removed and the cabinet will decide on where it will go. And we are agree. Thank you. Are you persuaded? Mazibuko? Are you persuaded, Honorable Mazibuko? On record?
Fine, Chair.
Thank you. 7.5. Honorable Maude, I see the hand. I'm not sure it's a legacy hand or. Okay. There's no response or no voice from Honorable Maude. 7.6.
So my apologies, Chair. But it's
Thank
fine.
you
We
very
can go
much,
to 7.6.
Chairperson.
Honorable Maude?
I'm saying my apologies, but it's fine. We can go to 7.6. I'll make my input after honorable member.
After?
The honorable member on the platform now.
Okay. Is your hand up? It's not
Yes.
legacy hand. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Honorable Ryder?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the numbers in paragraph 7.6 just caused me a little bit of confusion. And when I looked in the budget review document at the graph specifically on page 4, I just found a mismatch between the years, so the 77.4 in 2025-26 didn't tie up with what I'm seeing in the graph. So it's just a technical request. If I can ask the team to check, I think it should say 26-27. But if we can just check that those percentages tie up with the financial year that they're talking about, in order to make sure that we're 100% correct. Other than that, I welcome the paragraph as it stands. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable, do you mean that on the first sentence it must be 2026, 2027?
I think so, Chair, but I'm not prepared to bet on it.
No, they
I
will.
wouldn't bet my own
They
money.
will clarify us before Honorable Maude. Can we check if it's correct? Is it 2026, 2027? At content advisors.
Thank you, Chair. We'll check and confirm everything before
Okay.
finalize the report. Yeah.
But can you please highlight it so that members tomorrow can be able to see that it's corrected? Honorable Maude.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we reject this whole thing of expected to stabilize. Because National Treasury refuses to answer in a straightforward manner. Why do they say stabilization? Even though for the past 4 or 5 years, they've never managed to stabilize anything that they themselves projected for. The gross loan debt to increase, it's been happening. And this has been going on for a very long time. So why should we burden ourselves as the committee to say that National Treasury is expected to stabilize? Singenapi, they have failed. That's the reality. We've demonstrated the last time that they've been projecting and they've never met their own projections. So we reject this one, Chair. Thank you. I'll come back again on another point, still on 7.6.
Maude reject 7.6, and there's a need for the verification of the years from the content advisors in relation to what is presented here. 7.7.
Chair.
Maude.
Yeah, I was still on 7.6. I thought you do that one and then I come to the other sentence, still on 7.6.
No, let's discuss 7.6 holistically, Honorable Modene.
Okay, that's fine. So the sentence that starts with the committee notes concerns raised in submissions. We've got a problem with the language of consolidation, Chair. An ordinary person may not understand this. So we must call it suppressed spending or somehow find a way to explain that there is either budget cuts in some areas and the overall increase in the budget. It's not keeping up with real money. And I think Honorable Mazibuk raised this issue directly with the minister last time that this is more like an austerity measure budget. So if we entangle ourselves with the language of national treasury of consolidation, it's not proper. We need to explain it to an ordinary person what it is. That in some areas there's budget cuts, in others there's overall increased budget, but it's still not keeping with real money. Which means available money is less. Unless if we're writing these reports deliberately for people not to understand them. But 1 rand of today is different from 1 rand of next year. So the nominal increase that you see is not necessarily going to mean that you'll have more. So that's my input, Chair, that the drafters must relook at this thing around consolidation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Modene. There is a view of this paragraph on from the committee notes concern raised in submission that this consolidation path is unfolding. Honorable Sukwati.
Chair, I think we all are aware that Honorable Mautwe is agreeing that there is increased though nominal. It's not so. It doesn't mean that unless he says the nominal increase is not an increase. If that's not the case, then let's pass, Chair. Otherwise, I just feel that it's like we're being spited here. Thank you.
Okay. So you're proposing that we stand like this. Okay. Honorable Rider, can you take the mic? Take the mic. Thank you. Honorable Modene, the view that let it be like this. Can we go to 7.7? TG.
Yes, thank you, Chair. My hand is up for 7.7.
Okay.
The sentence that starts with the committee recommends that National Treasury publish for parliamentary scrutiny. It ends with prudent use of instruments such as the GFA cross settlement and associated buffer currently reflected at about 260 billion. I don't think that this should be a recommendation. I think the committee must write to the National Treasury and we must instruct them to submit this within 14 days as part of our oversight responsibility. Why are we recommending as if we don't have powers as this committee to do oversight over the executive? More so treating National Treasury like they are law unto themselves. They report to this very same committee of Parliament. And I'm happy because even if they don't implement some of these recommendations, well, they're going to be reminded. I was very proud of the chair last time that he read a resolution that was taken in this same committee. We're not here, me and you, Honorable Ndlovu. But the reality is that that resolution was taken. So I think we should play our oversight role over the executive. Treasury can't be the law unto themselves. They report to this parliament through this committee. So I think we should remove this paragraph completely. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable members. there is a view that 7.7 be removed. There's no comment on that, Honorable Rider.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm struggling to hear. I think everyone knows I have a hearing impairment, and I didn't clearly hear the motivation for removing it. I think that there is a fiscal anchor has been proposed. The recommendation here is that Treasury tell us a little bit, or brings us as a committee on board in terms of what the proposals are for the formal fiscal anchor. If I can just get a slight clarification on the reason why we're not agreeing, or the Honourable Mautwe is not agreeing with this paragraph. I mean, if we don't want Treasury to tell us what they're doing, if she can just make it a little bit more clear, because I didn't hear her point clearly enough.
Honorable Mautwe, I don't want to misrepresent you. Can you try to accommodate Honorable Rider?
I'm saying if you make it a recommendation, it does not have a deadline. It remains a recommendation. But I'm saying the committee can agree that we write a letter directly to National Treasury, put them on terms, or in terms that within 14 days, we want this, because we play overall side, oversight responsibility rather, on National Treasury. I mean, it's the same honorable member whose senior was saying the recommendations don't get responded to. And we're putting this recommendation here when this one is a direct call to National Treasury. So we can do that with the Honorable Chairperson, who can just write a letter on behalf of the committee as part of our oversight responsibility and say in 14 days they must provide this. Thank you, Chair.
I get you, Honorable Mautwe. Let me, Honorable Rider.
Chair, as far as I understand, the National Assembly, of which the Honourable Mautwe is a member, will be rising within the next 14 days. So I'm not sure that there will be much value to placing Treasury under any time frame burdens which are arbitrary at all. So I can't find myself agreeing with Honourable Member.
Honorable Mazibuko.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the writing of the letter requiring the time frame for me does not require the removal of the recommendation. This recommendation, because Honorable Mautwe is not against the recommendation, if I hear her well. What she's saying is that there must be a letter written with a time frame. But I don't get the reason for her asking for the removal of the recommendation. For me, the recommendation is okay because it is talking about us playing our oversight role in terms of getting the strategy for reducing borrowing costs and all what the sentences say. So I don't agree with the removal of the recommendation. Thanks.
Okay. I think that is the view that the removal of of 7.7 is not agreeing to. I think the proposal of the days or whatever honorable it can also be maybe added to the one that our members have indicated earlier on their observation. I think it's Dr. Beck earlier on the observation and the recommendation on the issue of the National Treasury not being responded to the issues. Mautwe, are you covered?
Chair, I made my point. The committee can decide what they want to do. But my point is, we're complaining about recommendations not be attended to. Yet we've got a mechanism to put National Treasury to terms to respond to us. So if that's what we want to play at, no problem. The public is watching us. Let's just do as we please. I've made my point. Thank you.
7.8. I don't see hand.
Except mine.
Except Honorable Maude. I can't wanna, your hand is forever up. So sometimes I'm not sure whether it's a legacy or. Can you come in?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we're here to hold the executive accountable. Our hands will
But
permanently.
after speaking, just lower it so that I don't confuse myself.
Yeah, I do, though, Chair.
Okay.
Just don't check it. Yeah. Chair, we are saying some submissions also question the adequacy of public consultation and the transparency of the evidence base underpinning the decision. I think to say some, it's wrong. I mean, it's an overwhelming majority, which is misrepresentation, Chair. So the language here must be much stronger. Given the significance of this policy shift, consultation cannot only be meant for the IMF, the World Bank, the JP Morgan who met with the Deputy Minister. We must take it clear as the committee that we're not happy with such elitist approach to consultation. The people of South Africa were not consulted. That's a fact. It was cabinet and all these elite who meet out of South Africa. So we can't say it's some submissions questioned. It's a lot. It's an overwhelming majority. Chair, thank you.
Dear.
Not to interfere in the work of Parliament or the report of the committee, but I must be clear. As I said to the committee after the MTBPS during the hearings, the first meeting, we met with JP Morgan specifically to speak about our credit rating. It had nothing, we did not discuss inflation at all. So I want to be clear on that point. I said it to Parliament before, and I'm going to repeat it. No discussion was held with JP Morgan about inflation. Thank you.
I think we agreed from the beginning that if there is no support for the view, let's move on. And the public is aware that the committee doesn't agree with it because it looks like we are doing it for public. We are not doing it objectively to actually carry out.
Can you talk through the mic because Maude can't hear you.
Pardon?
Can you talk through the mic? Because Honorable Maude doesn't hear you.
I'm not addressing Honorable Maude. I'm addressing the meeting, Chair, that we if we do not have any secondment, let us move on. Because we are taking a long time, trying to, check as to whether there is satisfaction on the other side or not. But as long as there is no consultation, I think even the public that we are trying to appeal to understand that we are actually doing our work objectively and not to please the public, but to do our work as expected by the public. Thanks.
Thank you. 7.9. Honorable Rider.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, again, this is quite a problematic paragraph in my view. In that, first of all, there's two recommendations in one paragraph, which makes it quite difficult. So the first part of the recommendation is that the committee holds dedicated hearings on the revised 3% inflation target. Now, I'm just wondering what the purpose of that is. The target's been adopted. It's been announced. There might be future inputs that would be required, but I'm not sure, if we're advocating for a hollow process. And I haven't got firm views on this part, Chair, but I do wonder what the benefit is on a public consultation on something that has already been implemented. We can maybe talk about, future public participation or future inputs. or outreaches to determine future policy. But I really think we should be cautious not to try or not to put up an expectation that this decision is going to get reversed at short notice. That's the first part. The second part relates to that second recommendation, where it says about halfway through the paragraph that, and I quote, "The committee further recommends that government develops and publishes a clearer macro fiscal coordination framework," blah, blah, etc. Now, I don't know if this is trying to add an extra step into the budget processing framework, if this is rewriting the Money Bills Amendment Procedures Act. It's an act that does certainly need review as it is, but this seems to be trying to add an extra step into that. And I'm not sure if there is capacity in the committees to process an additional round of evaluations as seen here. So, Chairperson, again, I think that the wording of the first half of the paragraph needs to just be looked at so that we can call for divergent views, but without setting up an expectation that there's going to be an immediate change based on that. But secondly, that the second part of that paragraph, the second recommendation, should be foregone entirely, because I don't believe we should be adding an extra step into the process. Thank you, Chair.
Let me get you clear, Honorable Rider. Honorable Rider, you are proposing that the second recommendation be removed. Yes. And the first one be reworked. Okay. Any the member? There's no one here. Honorable Maute?
No, thank you, Chair. The recommendation, somehow, I don't get it. The process is now almost at the end. We're adopting the report tomorrow. It's going to go back to Parliament for voting. So what exactly are we saying here? What purpose will this post-facto hearing serve? Because a decision has already been made. Is Parliament holding this with the intention of reversing the policy decision? Like how? How does it going to work? Or are we saying in future the committee recommends this? Because as it is, the way it's written, it's as if within this same framework, we can still hold this public hearings. I don't know. I don't know, Chair. That's I don't understand what we're saying here. Thank you.
I think that's what Honorable Rider is saying, that the first part, let it be reworked. Because the time, as you correctly put it, it is already at the advanced stage. So it means you are agreeing that the first part be reworked, and the second part, content advisor, the second part on the committee be removed. There's no objection that there were. 7.10. 7.10, 7.11, 7.12, 7.13, expenditure composition, social wage, 7.14, 7.15, 7.16, 7.17, 7.18, page 29, 7.19, 7.20, 7.21, 7.22, 7.23, 7.24, 7.25. Honorable Maute.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of points to make on 7.25, so I'll go through all of them. It's actually 2, if not 3. Chair, where we say the committee recommends that the review of the local government funding model be accelerated, we need a commitment from National Treasury to review local government funding model, which has been ongoing for the past 10 years now without any progress. The longer this is postponed, the deeper the crisis. So we need to be very firm here on what exactly are we saying. It's a talk that we found it when we came to this parliament, and nothing is happening. Every year we still complain about the same thing. Let's change the local government funding model completely. And we've raised the concerns why we're saying that. So it can't be just a sentence like that. Let's put clear and be firm, decisive in terms of what intervention is required here and by when. That's number one. With regards to the COCTA report to Parliament, and as far as ESCOM and municipalities are concerned, the reality is that there are some municipalities whose debt to ESCOM will never be paid, and we know this. We've been calling for national intervention for a coordinated program to write off some of these debts from the municipalities. So this needs a form of intervention, not just, tiptoeing around the matter. Must be firm and clear what are we saying here. We must include this recommendation in the report, Chair, to say that which municipalities' debt must be cancelled. So let's list the municipalities that we know, and it would have been backed up by research from the team, that they will never pay. It doesn't matter. And then how do we make sure in future that these municipalities do not repeat the same problems if they get this intervention that we are calling for? But also here, Chair, let's contextualize this crisis to say that electricity is too expensive. And as much as our people sometimes pay municipalities or buy prepaid, it is municipalities that treat this revenue as revenue that gets used for other things in a municipality, hence the perpetual crisis. They are literally trying to make ends meet as the municipality. So whatever income they get from this electricity, instead of paying it to ESCOM, they try to rob Paul to pay Peter. That's how it is. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the funding model that the National Treasury is using. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Dear.
Again, Chair, I don't mean to interfere in the working of Parliament. The local government funding model review is underway as part of the white paper review on local governments. So I would urge the committee not to require us to duplicate existing work because it is being done. And when COGTA completes its component, we are working with COGTA to complete that review. And through the course of next year, you can't review the funding model in the absence of the structure of local government as well. So we are working together on that front. I think that if the committee wants to, of course, and I say don't interfere in the working of Parliament, it must just be aware to the actual work being done and maybe phrase it appropriately. Then in terms of a coordinated program to write off debt, we have had the ESCOM debt relief program. And while I think it's been presented to the Appropriations Committee, but if it needs to come to the Finance Committees, we can present that as part of the plan. There have been problems, but 27 municipalities have had the first batch of their debt written off already. So I think we must just keep in mind that there is this work ongoing. It's not perfect, and we must be criticized on how to account for the ESCOM debt relief program and asked what the future of it is. But I think we must, if you put in the recommendations as they are proposed, I think it would create a situation where we come and just say, well, this is what we're doing. And we must rather give you the depth of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mota. Thank you at the DMC. There is a process underway on the side of the concoctor around the white paper, which obviously it will talk to that areas of the funding models and the ESCOM debt. I think if maybe we can also give it a space there. I'm not sure is Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I think the DM has covered most of what I wanted to point out, that this falls squarely in the ambit of the Appropriations Committee as well, who have already undergone various processes on this and are much closer to it. So I don't think it's for the Finance Committee to put deadlines. I think the paragraph as it stands before us covers well the sentiments that were expressed, and I think it adequately covers. So I don't think it needs any further amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So the recommendation stand 7.5, 7.6.
Yeah, 7.26 you mean, Chair?
Yes, 7.26.
Chair, where we say the committee recommends that National Treasury submit to Parliament ahead of future borrowing decisions. The only decisive
7.26 on our mode.
Yes.
Why do you read the committee? You are now on 27. Ahead of future borrowing, it's 7.27.
Okay. Sharp, I'll come back later then.
Okay. So 7.26. Okay, there's no comment. 7.27, Honorable Maute and Honorable Ryder.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think the only decisive intervention here, Chair, is to pass a legislation to make it compulsory for government and all its 10 entities before signing any loans to get approval from Parliament. And to this end, Chair, we have submitted, the EFF has submitted a private member's bill in that regard to introduce it to Parliament with the intention to get Parliament to approve before these entities, including National Treasury, getting loans from anybody else. So I'm saying that process is already underway now. We're hoping that this, as it comes to this committee, it will be supported. It speaks exactly to this. It's a solution to this problem that we're encountering. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Chair, Honorable Ryder, just wait. Honorable Maute. Honorable Maute.
Yes, Chair.
What is, I didn't get clearly, what is your view on this 7.27?
The committee recommends that National Treasury submit to Parliament ahead of future borrowing decisions. And I'm saying I agree with it, and more so that the EFF has taken already the liberty to draft.
So you are supporting the 7.27?
The committee speaks our language here because the committee has realized the problems that we are faced with. And because the bill is coming, it is the same committee that is going to agree to that bill because it speaks exactly to this recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm lowering my hand.
Thank you. Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I think maybe we should demand some advertising revenue from the honourable member for promoting her private member's bill using the resources of the committee. But no, Chairperson, I don't have a material problem with this paragraph. I do want to just say it should not be something that becomes hard and fast, because we have seen in the past when emergency funding comes available or opportunities come available to deal with emergency situations. We saw this during the COVID period, where certain funding was offered or on offer by international institutions. And it actually happened at a time when Parliament wasn't sitting. So I don't think it should unnecessarily complicate the process. and I'm talking specifically about emergency situations. But I don't have a material issue with the paragraph as it stands now, and it remains a recommendation, and I think it's appropriate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. 728, 7.28, 7.29, 730, 731, 732, 733, 734, 735, 736, 737, 738, 739, 740, 741, 742, 743, 744, 745, 746. That is the last point. Honorable members, I think all of members have made their contributions, and the Secretariat has captured that. I think now brings us to the last item. That thanks very much to the DM Sarupen and DM Masondo on the virtual platform, Dr. Peters, DG of the Treasury, and members in the platform, parliamentary staff. I think, I'm not sure if, okay, thank you. And also the co-chair, Masangani in absentia. Thank you very much, honorable members from the Standing Committee and the Select Committee for your contribution to this report. Tomorrow will be the adoption of the report. I must also indicate that there's going to be virtual because there's no venue. We will not come here and discuss or any other offices or committee rooms because there's no venue. All the venues have been booked. Thank you very much, honorable members. The meeting stand adjourned. Yes, it will be virtual. There are no committee rooms available. Thank you.